everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We're so excited today. We have a very special guest that we are talking to. We are talking to James Lott Jr., who is a fellow podcaster, fellow commentator, would you say?
Sure, why not? Yeah. So many things. Sure, why not?
For the Afterbuzz show that follows the what it calls the Heart. And we've had Marissa on several times on this podcast.
Yeah,
this is so much fun to get a chance to talk to James. And James, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. And shout out to my girl, Marissa Serafini. I love her.
Yes.
I love you, Marissa.
Yes, we love Marissa on this podcast. What to do on the podcast, we'd like to give our guests the chance to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about how you came to have the career that you have.
All right. So for me, as this podcast, of course, is going out, later this week, I turn 50 years old on May 10th. I'm 50.
Happy birthday, early birthday.
Thank you. Taurus season, yes. So I say that because 10 years ago, right when I was turning 40, I changed my whole life. So I had a whole different life 10 years ago that I was unhappy with, and I hated it. And so I needed to make change. And I thought, well, I'm turning 40. It's a good time to do it. The kids are grown. I have a couple of grandkids who are little. I can go out and do what I want now, so to speak. So then I wrote down, I tell the story all the time, it's really brief. I sat down with a sheet of paper, a notepad, and I started writing down all the jobs I ever had and all the things I liked about each job. So anybody out there, you should do that. It's really interesting. And I started circling things that kept coming up the same. I was like, oh. And then my personality, of course, as you know. I was like, people are saying, you should be on television. You should be on television. And a friend of a friend I had dinner with said, I can get you on television. Can you come to Los Angeles? At this point, I was living in San Francisco. Can you come to LA? I'll get you on the TV show House. House was huge at the time. It was a huge show for Fox. Hugh Laurie, I loved him and everything. So it was huge. I get you on the show for a couple episodes. So I flew down to LA and I did a couple episodes, season 4, episodes 4 and 5.
And you had no acting background?
No.
Amazing.
No,
that's great.
This is me. This is James Lott Jr. James Lott Jr. is fearless. He just tries stuff. He's like, see if it sticks to the wall.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I mean, I did a couple of commercials, but like nothing major back in the day, back in the 80s. But I was not an actor. I was in drama club. That was not me at all. I was a corporate guy. I was a medical guy. I was all that kind of stuff. Fell in love with it. I was like, I'm in. So turning 40, moved everything to LA to go to my family home in Inglewood, California. And slowly but surely over the last 10 years, built up my little mini empire. And I have several businesses, and one is in entertainment. My JLJ Media is in entertainment. And so with that, for almost 5 years ago, again at a dinner party with a friend of a friend, said, you should come on this show we're doing for Days of Our Lives. It's a Days of Our Lives after show. I'm like, what's an after show? Like this is before after shows were even out there. Afterbuzz TV was the fourth one. And I said, oh, Maria Menounos. Oh, I know Maria Menounos. Oh, yeah, okay. I said, well, I'll come on one day. I'd never hosted in my entire life. I'll come on, I'll come on one day. Well, a week after they premiered, their lead host had to go out of town and need somebody to come in and fill in. Not as a lead, but come on the panel. They called me, if you come on Sunday. Sure, what do I do? Watched 5 episodes of Days of Our Lives that week. Okay. The rest was history. I got there, loved it. They couldn't pry my dead hands out of there. I was like, I'm staying at AfterBuzz. Fell in love with Maria. Maria and Kevin Undergaro are friends of mine. I'm one of their top people at the company. That's where I met Marissa. She was one of my first engineers, producers. And so, there I am today, 5 years later. So I created this whole career. But when I came to it, I already had a radio show. So I'm still doing 4 years. It'll be 4 years in June. So my Super Organized Universe radio show, as we call it the SOS show, that show is still, I was doing radio because of my voice. And so now, then I started doing radio and TV at the same time. So yeah, that's how I got started. That's where I got started into the business.
Very cool. That's great. I kind of had a similar experience as far as I was just in this job that I just was miserable at. And I actually it all started, I went to Hawaii, and I was just so happy, and I just said to myself, I need to feel happy in my life. Like it made it so clear how unhappy I was in my
Mm-hmm.
regular life because I was
Mm-hmm.
so happy. And I just was like, I have to change. Like, this is ridiculous. And I mean, everything good that has ever happened to me, everything good about my life now, it comes down to that moment where I said, no, enough. I'm done. Like, I need to
Yeah.
like figure out what makes me happy, and I need to do it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I really relate to that story for sure.
It's very important. I just did a talk last night here for the National Association of Perinatal Social Workers in Savannah, Georgia. I did a talk on self-care. And one of the things I talk about is listen to your gut, listen to your heart, listen to your brain. If you're unhappy, you can change it.
Yeah.
It's up to you. If you don't like your job, you can change it. And I'm not saying it's super easy or you may have all the answers, but I mean, like, you can get the ball rolling
Right.
and change your life.
Yeah.
Everybody does it. People change their lives all the time. You can do it. You may have to have some sacrifices, you may have to have some hard times, but in the end, you'll feel so much better.
Yeah. I agree. I agree for sure. So yeah, you met Marissa, I guess, in 2015, according to your book.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I think
Yeah.
it's 15. Like the days are all blending together. The years are blending together.
Yeah.
You get older, it just starts to happen. You're like, what year is this? How old am I?
Yeah. I know what you mean. But you described in the book as that she is an old soul. What did you mean by that?
Marissa and I joke all the time. They were like Freaky Friday. I'm youthful, and she's very older. Like she loves the music of my generation and my era.
Uh-huh.
And she and I are like 20-something year difference in age. And she just carries, so we always think she just carries herself very maturely. She's very mature.
Yeah.
And I'm very silly. So we literally have switched places a lot of times. We always say, you're so useful. Like, I would never guess you're 50. I mean, that's, I know. And with her, she just seems, she looks, she's young, obviously, like looking, but she just seems older. She has a quiet stillness about her that, as like a wiser, older person, she knows a lot of stuff. She's very smart. She likes to read. I mean, there's things that older folks like to do. It's not funny.
Yeah.
That she does, like the music and stuff at the times, and I always say she was born at the wrong time. Like she should be. If she was born when I was born, we'd probably be good best friends in high school. Like we'd probably be close.
Yeah.
Like that. We're best friends now, but if we were in high school. So that's why I think she's an old soul, because I'm very youthful, very silly. I have a lot of fun. I make jokes. I'm always like, but I mean, I'm serious about my work. I mean, trust me, I get my work done.
Sure.
As you know, I do a million things. But I like to have a lot of fun, and there's many times behind the scenes she's having to, like, James, gives me a look. I always call her Lady Boss Queen. She's my Lady Boss Queen, and I get a little silly. So I have to watch it sometimes. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can relate to that. It's been kind of funny because people have always thought I was older than I am in my life. When I was a teenager, people, thought I was like in my late 20s, and for my whole life, except for, it's been really funny being on this podcast because my regular co-host Amber, she's 7 years younger than me. Yeah, she's actually 7 years younger than me. And so people think we're the same age. And so it's like the first time in my life that people think I'm younger than I'm. Like, this is a nice change of pace. Like, this is great.
Yeah. Like, hello. Thank you.
I get to live all my 30s all over again.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people, because I do look pretty youthful for my age, that I think it helps because I have kids, I have grandkids. They keep me young. Yeah. And I work with so many young people at Afterbuzz. Working with Marissa, they're all younger than I am. They keep me youthful. So they keep me in the know. I mean, I'm like an old guy sometimes. And it was like, come on, James, I'm being an old man. Like, I'm sorry. Can't help it.
That's really funny. So, so what do you covered soap operas first in your career, and what do you think is the appeal of soap operas? What do you love about them?
Great question. You should be a podcaster now.
I try.
Yeah, no, like soap operas. So soaps, because they're on 5 days a week, almost a whole year. There's no really time off. They become part of your life. Become part of your family. They're generational, and for me, I grew up on it because of my grandparents, my parents, my aunts and uncles, where they all watched soaps. So it was kind of inherited. I inherited that as a kid or a teenager, preteen. I started watching soaps. It's just the ongoing drama. You get to love the characters. They're in your home every day, and that's what I love about the soaps. And now that I'm in the soap community as press and as a colleague, I love them. I have so many soap friends now that are friends in my real life. I'm there, and this community works really hard to give you. They really want to give you the best show they can. Because it's a lot of work, and I admire them. And I watch these soaps; it looks so effortless. But knowing what goes on, the 80 pages of dialogue, the set changes, they're filming 8 episodes a week sometimes. Like it's crazy. And and a lot of them have other things they do on the outside too. So they're amazing. But I love soaps just because I just love the drama. I love the some of the social issues that happen on soaps. It's a slice of life that's not my life. It's not real life. So I can watch it. I love storytelling. And contrary to popular belief, there's some really amazing acting that's happening on soaps also. Some really amazing actors. And a lot of the actors you know out there now came from soaps.
Yeah. Has there ever been a plot line where you're just like, this is too nutty? This is so ridiculous.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
But Days of Our Lives is known for their over-the-topness. And back in the 90s, it's very controversial. I loved it. The Marlena Possessed by the Devil storyline. I loved it. Yeah. I thought it was amazing. The special effects for daytime were amazing. And I kept trying to tell people, and I got to actually interview Deidre Hall, who played Marlena, and Drake Hogan, who played John, years later. So I got to interview them, and I asked about that. And I said, wasn't it really about a love story? When you boil it all down, he was going to save his woman. And they're like, yes, that's what it was. But it was packaged in this kind of craziness that daytime wasn't used to. And to me, it was still rooted in story. It was something different. Another storyline, the same Days of Our Lives, another Days of Our Lives, was the Gemini twins. These two twins landed in an egg-shaped thing, and they were born on Earth. So that was, and General Hospital did a storyline with Casey the Alien back in 1990. So there's a few that were like, okay, that's a little too much. And yeah, I like some wackiness, but not for wackiness' sake. There's a show called Passions that was on for years, and they had a chimpanzee who was a major character on the show. So,
So
there are a few. There you go. Okay.
There was one for a while. I mean, this is years ago when I was in college that I was watching that had there was somebody had gotten on a deserted island, got shipwrecked, and then her husband back on mainland had found a way to clone her, and then she ended up getting free.
Guiding light. Guiding light. Yep.
She had this big confrontation with her clone. It was pretty epic. Yep. That one was fun.
Again, that storyline was crazy, but I ended up liking it because when they brought the real Reba back, it was a sad story. It was like this Dolly character was dying. She was aging fast, and she was like dying, and she had nobody really. And it was I remember that whole story. It was the guiding light.
Do you think that the ones that have made it through sort of this tough period with soap operas where so many more canceled, do you think that they found a way to make it work, or do you worry about all of them that there's?
Well, CBS just announced they're going to renew their 2 soaps, Young and the Restless and Bold and Beautiful, through 2020.
Okay.
So they're good for another at least another year or so, year and a half or so. Plus they film Young and Restless and Bold and Beautiful film 5.5 weeks in advance, so they'll go through probably for a while. Days of Our Lives, every year it's a nail biter. They just renew it year to year to year to year, but that's the one soap that's increased in viewership. But I don't know how long it's going to go. General Hospital is the one on ABC that's left, and that one they renewed every couple of years, and now it's the longest running soap on air. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I never thought the other soaps were going to go. I never thought they were going to cancel All My Children, Will Life to Live, As the World Turns Around. I just never thought that. And so it's every year it's kind of a nail biter. Just like, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I mean, you don't know. I don't know.
So they canceled.
They're fabric.
Yeah, they canceled General Hospital.
No. General Hospital, I'm saying it's the longest running soap. But they canceled All My Children, Will Life to Live, all those.
Okay, yeah.
I know they're going to cancel those. I was shocked. And so when they did that, I was like, oh, they don't care about soaps. That's I feel like many of them don't care about soaps. But Bold and the Beautiful and the rest of us are owned by the Bell Company, and Bold and the Beautiful sold as an overnight over an international nighttime soap. So it's pretty safe.
Yeah.
The other soap, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've kind of had a theory for a while that I think part of the success of Hallmark, oddly enough, is I think a little bit kind of related to the death of soap operas, because there's still some, but it's not what it once was, and there's hardly anything out there that is sort of catering to women and escapism for women. And I think that in some ways, sort of these romantic movies that you get on Hallmark kind of fill a certain degree of that void that you had with things like soap operas that have left. And because everything in the movies is practically made for 13-year-old boys, and so there's so little that's made for women. And back in the day, soap operas were something that particularly housewives would watch. They'd watch their soaps every day, and it just is kind of an escapism from cleaning the floors and stuff like that. And so I feel like there was a void there that I think Hallmark has kind of met a little bit.
Well, my take's a little different.
Okay.
I'm not a woman, so I can't speak to women. So, but my take's a little different. I'm in the industry, and I'm also a fan. So, from my perspective, soaps are very different than Hallmark. I think the audiences are very different. I think what Hallmark Channel has done successfully is they brought back the family-friendly entertainment. I feel like that's the niche that was missing, because soaps aren't family-friendly. Soaps are but they do all kind of stuff. I know a lot of folks who wouldn't watch soaps who watch Hallmark.
But they're kind of romantic escapism in the same sort of ways. What I was feeling, but anyway, sorry.
I feel like Hallmark is in response to actually the soaps and like Lifetime. Lifetime is all about the murders and everything's always bad endings.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like Hallmark is in response to people getting tired of procedural TV, being tired of heavy male television. Yeah, I feel like they're in response to the old-fashioned, the Waltons type stuff, The House on the Prairie. I feel like that's the void that was missing for years. They're in response to Game of Thrones, which I love, but that's no story. They're in response to The Sopranos or Sex and the City. Like I feel like the Hallmark is actually the opposite of all the stuff that we see on TV, and that's why they're there.
Yeah.
But I get there's romantic elements on everything, on all these shows, romantic elements, but I feel like Hallmark is saying, hi, we are family friendly, we are non-violent, there are happy endings, here you go.
Yeah.
The whole family can sit down and watch this. And I feel like that's what Hallmark has done so successfully. I mean, it's the only network that's on cable that's, making numbers that are high.
Yeah, it can't be denied. That is definitely a huge part of it for sure as well. And so you said in your book, so Marissa introduces you to When Calls the Heart, and you were kind of skeptical. Yeah. You're like, what is this show? But then you watched it and you really loved it. And you said that you like to watch it and eat soul food. It's like a comfort watch kind of for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, so what is it that is so comforting to you about When Calls the Heart?
So folks don't realize, those of you who don't know this, I've written 2 books about my Hearties experience, and one's called Becoming a Heartie, and another one's the new one that's out now. It's called Being a Heartie. Right. I'm writing a 3rd book, actually. So it's my first exclusive. I'm not announced it to anybody else. Woo! I am writing a 3rd book. So, because these books have been successful for me. But the first book, Being a Heartie, I talk about Marissa introducing the show to me because she knew me. She's like, I just know you, James. I used to love the Waltons, Little House on the Prairie, and all this kind of shows, Seventh Heaven, all this kind of shows. Touched by an Angel. I loved all those shows. And so, and those shows, and When It Comes to Heart, when you watch it, it just makes you feel good. Like, it's just the energy of the show, the feeling of the show. Again, there's no violence, no craziness, no this, that. It makes you just feel like, wow. It reminds me of soul food, which I love. My family's from Louisiana, so I love soul food. Whenever I eat soul food, afterwards, I feel comforted. There's something about what goes into making soul food. My family says, and a lot of cultures have this. It's love, it's culture, it's history being put into the food. So you taste all that and take that in. When It Comes to Heart has history, it has love, it has all this stuff, and you feel it when you watch the show. When the show ends, you have a smile on your face. You're not tense, anxiety. Some shows have anxiety. It's like, it feels so comforting. And that's why I say it reminds me of comfort food. And so there were many times I would eat comfort food while I was watching my comfort TV show.
Mm. Yeah, I can totally see that. It's a very sweet show. It's very, very sweet, and it has sometimes I wish it would dig a little bit deeper sometimes, but that's not the show. The show is about family, it's about community, it's about love, all of those things.
I think I talked about it in the first book. People would comment, it's not realistic enough. It's not realistic enough. Well, that's not Hallmark Channel. And if that's not their brand.
Yeah,
we don't want to show them with dirt on their faces. I mean, no one wants to see that. Uh-huh. Yeah, we knew back in the day they had dirt on their faces. There were things that were a little different. But no, who cares? I'm like, to me, it's the energy and the message that's more important than the actual. And I get, like, you want to make sure that the costumes are close and the hair is close to the time period. I get that part. But some of us were really nitpicking, which is fine. That's your right to look at the show and see what and ask what you want out of it. But I felt like the show's energy was close enough, and it was still, it was good. But I know some folks would like more in-depth things, but I feel like that's not their brand. Uh-huh. They just don't do that. You know that. You watch the movie.
I do for sure.
That's like you have podcasts on Hallmarkies. Hello. Hallmark Channel. They don't do that. If you want that, you have to go to HBO or Showtime. Then they have things that go. They don't do that on the show, on the channel.
Yeah. So you talked about in your book about faith being an important part of your life, how you have become a minister, that you have married some of your friends, that you're not a specific religion, I believe, but that you do believe in. And so, When It Comes to Heart, it's an interesting show because it's not specifically religious really at all, hardly at all. Right. But right. It feels like it is, what do I want to say? It feels like it's espousing Christian values without necessarily being religious. And so I don't know, how do you feel the show sort of handles faith and it manages to be uplifting without necessarily being Christian programming?
So I talk about in the book and becoming a Heartie. I talk about how I have a doctorate in divinity and I'm an ordained minister. I just celebrated 5 years as an ordained minister. And I was actually ordained twice. I was ordained back in the 90s, and then I let it lapse, and then I was ordained again. Hallmark Channel does this thing where it's family friendly, and that's the words they use. But it's not Christian network. Mm-hmm. But in terms of being uplifting, many things that are uplifting are things like quotes out of the Bible or teachings, and so I think what they do beautifully is they showcase some of the good parts of the Bible and things that, so the Proverbs and things they espouse in a way that doesn't hit you over the head, mm-hmm. in a way that doesn't like knock you over like religion. It's just saying this is something that we should be feeling, we should be doing as a community. Here's some of the tenets of that, and in the context of a storyline in the show, and that's fine. I think that's fine. They had a pastor on the show, of course, Pastor Frank for years. All that kind of stuff, but I thought it's not heavy-handed, but you can definitely feel it. Mm-hmm. It's there. So I feel like if you're super not religious, it shouldn't offend you. Right. And if you're super religious, it shouldn't offend you. I feel like it's somewhere in the middle there, and so mm-hmm. I think it's something that's really done really well with them, mm-hmm. and it fits the messages. Every show has a message. Every episode has a message, and I feel like it fits the messages. I personally Had no problem watching Christian shows. I used to watch Christian shows. Then there was like, what's her name? See Private Eye. She had a show years ago on PAX or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like, shows like Seventh Heaven and shows like Amen. I don't mind shows that have, we just think, I grew up Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised Catholic. I went through the whole process and got confirmed all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. But
I don't subscribe to that. Now I'm non-denominational.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in God. I have no problem talking about that. I believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe his son is the way to get into, to believe in heaven and all that kind of stuff. So I believe in all that. But again, I don't knock you over the head with my religion either, or my spirituality either. It's just, it's there. It's part of my life. I carry myself a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the show does the same thing. Its tone is just kind of there. But I think it's a great balance. They don't hit anybody with the head with it. They don't try to knock you over with it. I think it's good. I think they do a good job.
Yeah, they do a good job with that balance, I think, for sure. And I think another really good show that you might like, I don't know if you've seen the Signed, Sealed, Delivered, but I think they do a really good job in there as well. You might like it.
Okay.
But
okay.
Anyway, so I know that becoming a Heartie and being part of the community has been really important for you and something that's really, really added a lot to your life. What has that experience kind of been like for you?
Well, I say in the books, both books I talk about, the impetus for me writing this book, the first book, was because I wanted to give something back to the Hearties. I talk about that in my books where I lost my brother.
Yeah.
And it was a sudden death, and he was 47 years old, and we were very close. I was his last text. I was the person who got the phone call from the police, everything. So it was very devastating for me. And I told this in the book, the Hearties, that's the first time I really saw them come together for me. Here's the big deal. I'm on a show about a show.
Right.
And it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm not on When Calls the Heart, but I'm on a show that talks about When Calls the Heart. They have taken me and Marissa in the same way they've taken the actors of the show When Calls the Heart. So that's a new experience for me.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a celebrity, but I'm not on the show. And I'm on a show about the show. So it's kind of interesting how they really have become a movement. I watched it from the beginning, become this movement, and they've been there for me countless times over the last couple of years, in ways that I can't even describe fully. I'll start bawling and crying. It was so surprising and refreshing and wonderful. The Hearties are everywhere, and they completely, the Ohio Hearties threw me a fan event. And I think I talked about that in one of the books, and it was just like 51 Hearties came to see me.
Wow.
And I was like, this is amazing. And we had a great time. They had my books. I write books. I have music. They had all my stuff, and they were talking. And it was just amazing. Then these Hearties, and they have such a community. They love each other. I love this old-fashioned thing of I remember I had a pen pal as a kid. I missed having a pen pal. Now I have pen pals. They're called the Hearties.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they are very sweet for sure. That's really cool. I think whenever you can be part of, every kind of group dynamic has its downsides, but the pluses can be really wonderful and really sweet. And so that's great. I'm glad that they were there for you and that you found it a wonderful experience.
They completely continue. And any Heartie listening to this, thank you so much. You continually amaze me on a regular basis. And it's funny because I have Heartie fans that are kids.
Uh-huh.
I have Heartie fans that are teenagers, older people, old people. There's a Heartie range. And I want to give a shout out to one of my Heartie kids. I love Elsie Miller. She's great. Christy Miller's daughter. We have a little pen pal thing going on. As well as the actors, Andrea Brooks and Aaron Buckholz, and of course the kids on there, Javen Nat and Carter Ryan and Vancic. Love them, love their family. I would just shout to them too. They're the best.
Yeah.
I remind myself that I have this large, I'm part of several fan bases like the soaps and all that stuff, but of all my fan bases, this is the most diverse.
Yeah. In
terms of age range and where they live. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, that's what's great about having a family show or these family movies is that, all different ages can watch it. So you can, so it's not as limited. But you had said in your book that season 4 was your favorite. So I was just wondering what you liked especially about season 4.
Just every episode was just so good. I mean, it was very. They were very. I know it's like it's so like those. Okay, and no, but it's just that everybody watch my episodes of the After Show. No, I completely thought that season was just a really great season overall. The story, I love the storylines of that season, the acting of that season, the actors of that season. I thought from beginning to end, you don't get 10 episodes. From beginning to end, it just was I felt good every time because, season 5 was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost Jack. I think that was a rough season. And there were aspects of season, I liked season 1, but there's establishing stuff. And season 2 was good too. And season 3, they were good. But season 4, I felt like it hit its stride. And with some shows, it took a couple of years to kind of hit their stride. I thought everything was just working. And we got the romance, we got the adventure, we got the comedy, we got the drama. There's no specific storyline for sure, but just that whole season, it's like everything came together, and I just loved it.
Yeah. And also in your book, it seemed like you would say, oh, well, Bill's my favorite character, but then you'd be like, oh, but I love Rosemary. She's my favorite. And then you're like, Claire and Jesse are my favorite. You just love all the characters are your favorite.
Well, no, let me clarify. Here's the deal. Okay, so I know them all now in real life. So I've said this many times, and she knows I have the biggest crush on Pascal Hutton, who plays Rosemary. I think she's the most beautiful person on earth. I think she's so kind. I got to interview her, and I was like, you're so pretty. I feel like an idiot. She is just the best, and I think that, and as an actress, she can go from comedy to drama in 2 seconds, and you have you laughing 1 minute and crying the next. They've been giving us some really meaty material. So of all the characters, she's probably my favorite. Anybody. But then I've always been a big Jesse fan. I mean, and Aaron is just the bomb. He's just a nice guy in real life, and I've always been a Jesse fan. I've always been rooting for him. I like his storyline arc from being a bad boy, but kind of being a bad boy just by chance and circumstance, and now he's trying to grow. And him and the Clara storyline, I love that storyline.
Yeah.
And so I've been always rooting for Team Classy. I've been rooting for them from the very beginning. You can look back at my episodes. I've been rooting for them from the very beginning, when others weren't. And so I'm a big fan of his. But I just I do, and I like Space. I love Andrew Books, and of course Paul Green is my buddy, so I love Carson. But I will say, of course, I will say if I had to choose right now, based on James, who your favorite characters, Rosemary and Jesse are my 2 favorites.
Yeah.
If I had to choose, but yes, but all the characters are good. I like
yeah.
Well,
she's definitely my favorite as well, Rosemary. She's just honest. I appreciate whenever you have a character in any movie or television show that feels emotionally true to me, that feels like she's just who she is, and people can either take it or leave it. She's not, I don't know. She's just the most real to me of any of the characters on the show.
Well, she comes from a big city, of course, on the show and everything, and she's like, she has no shame, which I love about her. I just relate to her so much too. I agree with that. I kind of relate to her. She's very real. I can see her at any time period.
Yeah.
Like that character could be at any time period, kind of. So she happens to be at that time period. Yeah. And she's so funny, but then she's also so heartbreaking. And beginning of this season 6, we're seeing some stuff coming up.
Yeah.
That I'm really curious to see how she handles that. What's going to happen with that? So yeah, And look where she came from. We didn't like her at first. We didn't like her at first, and when she first came on all those seasons ago. So look how far the writing and her acting have come.
Yeah, she was a big sort of burst of energy, I felt like, into the show. Yeah. And her and Pascal and Kevin, both of them and their romance. I actually like that romance better than Jack and Elizabeth. I don't know. I just think it's a little more interesting.
I know.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst, but I don't know. They're just so interesting to me, and I just really have enjoyed watching them. And so, yeah, One quick thing I wanted to talk about, you mentioned in the book, is you talked about how both you and Marissa are both people of color, and how you sometimes that you want more diversity on the show, but you understand why sometimes they don't because of the time period. I was just wondering if you could expand on that a little bit.
I'm glad you asked. I'm very glad you asked that. Yes, and they have expanded. You can see in the background there are more Black and Asian characters back there. I feel like, because this is a Hallmark channel, you can put a little disbelief out there and have some people of color running around. I think it's okay. Again, I'm not trying to be super authentic, and depending on where they are in the country, there might be. I mean, there were the Indians. Like in the books, there were Indians.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know the show is not exactly following the books, but they're of the books from Jeanette Oak.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the fact that they touched on race, they touched on language in the series, in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd love to see some of that, whether it's not even Black, it could be Indian, it could be something. Just like I want to see more. And there were Asians doing the railroad and all kinds of stuff that were going on. So I'm like, let's like get more into that. But again, I know that's the type of show that is either. So it's one of those weird things. Marissa and I both we are people of color, and we see things through that lens. We can't help it.
Sure.
Everything we look at, I'm always noticing the Black person in the room, besides myself. I just can't help that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay with the way it is right now on Hallmark Channel. Now, Hallmark Channel has been changing and adding more Black people and stuff in there, but it doesn't hard. I understand. I get what the time area is, and it's okay for me. But I will mention occasionally when I'm like, okay, where's that Black person? He was never so last week. I kind of jokingly say that sometimes, but I think it's important. This show, I think everybody should watch it. I think it cross race. But when you do that, also you want people to represent it when you watch TV that look like you. And I think that's just something that all shows should kind of just think about when they're casting. It's nice to see someone that represents what you look like. You see yourself reflected.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. We had, of course, the nuclear explosion of Jack dying last season.
Yes.
And and I have to say, I was not a big fan of how they handled it. And
okay.
Just personally, I felt like to me, the show is a very romantic show in the sense of like the romantic period of writing. And to me, it would have been much better if they had some kind of a more classically romantic way for him to go out. Like, for instance, if he had gotten like scarlet fever, and Elizabeth was there by his side, and he got to whisper "I love you" to that's more sort of classically romantic kind of a way to go, as opposed to, I just thought it seemed very crass to me to have just some Mountie there on a horse with a telegram. Like that felt cold to me for the feeling of the show. And I felt like I don't know, they had so much time to plan it. They knew that this was coming. And then also I felt like if you knew like 18 months in advance, if you knew well in advance that this was happening, I thought it was pretty crass of them to have the wedding and then 3 episodes later be like, oh, oops, he's gone. And I like, why wouldn't they have at the very least had the wedding at the Christmas special? And then you could have had a whole season with them being married. Even if he was away, at least we would have gotten a whole season with them being married. And so that's just my opinion. I felt like it was handled poorly, and that they were a little bit smug, in my opinion, about any kind of critique of it. And that was a little frustrating that, that everybody's allowed to have their opinion. And as long as they don't be mean about it, then you're perfectly valid in, like, somebody should never be told like, oh, you're a bad fan because you didn't like decisions that were made. That's fine. And I don't know. So those are some of my feelings about it. But I know that you kind of struggled with that type of division within the fan base. Was hard for you.
Yeah. So in the first book, especially, and in this book too, I talk about it in this book also, in the later book, the Being a Hardy. See, I come from production. I'm from television. So I know, so for me, I know what goes into making a TV show.
Sure.
And writing for a TV show and show running and all that kind of stuff. So there's that portion. There's that. Then I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm always between those two things. I'm in production, I'm in TV, but I'm also a fan. And so I go back and forth. And I always say this, I say it with the soaps too, I would never want to be in that position because it's a tough one. I think, in my opinion, I think I was in the book, I don't think they would have won either way. If they had done it your way, fans would still been upset. If they did it the way they did it, fans would still, I think the problem for them is there's so many fans. There's like 3 million fans who watch the show every week. There's so many fans that everybody had their own outcome. You know what I mean? Everybody had their own outcome. And I think what happened, I talk about this in the book too. I saw meanness for the first time come out from the Hearties. The Hearties were hurting, which I understand. Because even your side was we were like, oh my God. But we got that Daniel listening, he quit the show. But they probably didn't want him to go, I'm sure. And so I always tell people, I wrote in the book, try to put yourself in the TV side of things just for a second and look at it as it's a difficult decision. Whatever decision they make, a portion of fans are going to be pissed either way. Also, keep the integrity of the show in terms of the storytelling, how the storytelling is told on the show. They don't rush into things. The show is kind of slow. They don't rush into things. They don't do certain things. So just keep that in mind also. Secondly, they have to really handle this PR-wise carefully because they know that every Hardy is watching every word that they say, every word they release to the public. So I thought, well, just kind of think of that. Just think of that. How daunting that must be just to have your guy is leaving. Your story was basically about Elizabeth and Jack. That's kind of like that was the main story. Even though the story was about the town, but that's the whole thing. Jack and Elizabeth. So what do? How do you find the best way to handle it? Now, like I said, I would never tell any Hardy that they're wrong in thinking the way they think. I would never tell you how to think. I just try to invite people to think the other way, kind of like it was a hard thing to do. Yeah, they knew 18 months in advance, but there's planning in terms of just logistics. There's planning that's involved. So you have to have production schedules and a lot of money being handled, and they have to be really careful with how they handle it. Now, I don't have, again, I say in the book, I don't know all the ins and outs. I don't know all the details. I'm not privy to all that. I'm privy to some things, but not to everything. I just know it's a really hard thing. And also to go, minus all of that, I also think they wanted to get the wedding. I think people want to see a wedding. So I think they had to do a wedding.
They just waited too long.
The wedding. That's the thing. I think that was the whole thing. Was they probably had a whole season planned out already, and then got the news and had to retweet. It's not easy to write a show. You have to write a show. It's not easy. And with writing comes with the sets and all the stuff that go along with it. So there's a lot of components that play into an episode. But I feel like fans were forgetting that shows don't owe you anything. They don't have to tell you. I said in the book too. They don't have to tell you behind the scenes what's going on. They don't have to tell you anything because they're ready to tell you. When it comes to Crown Media, Hallmark Channel, it's great that they actually acknowledge the Hardys. They talk to the Hardys all the time. I felt personally they did everything they could, the best they could, to try to comfort the Hardys. And that's just my opinion coming from a TV production side. I felt like they did the best they could. And what I saw, and I told this in the book, and I have no problem standing by this, I saw disrespect that was so horrendous to me. And me and Marissa got chewed out by certain fans also, and horrible things were said to us. Especially to me, there were horrible things that were said to me that I will never understand because it's a TV show, first of all. And so, trust me, I love the show. I'm a Hardy for life. I love the show. But the TV show, I understand, and like you said, having regular discourse, having debate, I have no problem with that. No, but discussion, no problem with that. But I saw a lot of really negative, mean, nasty stuff directed at the actors, directed at Brian Bird, and directed at us. And I did not like that.
I mean, it's
So that's very
ridiculous. It's ridiculous to lash out at, I mean, people talking about it is ridiculous, first of all, but it's also ridiculous to lash out against the actors who have no control over this at all, like zero. I mean, I guess you could say Daniel Lissing did a little bit, but like he's perfectly valid to, you know, make these decisions. He didn't have any control over the scripts or how it was handled. It's not his fault.
Exactly.
And so, yeah. So my only critique was with the actual show. I certainly don't blame Aaron Krakow for the fact they sent a Mountie on a horse.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
It's ridiculous, and yeah, it's part of any fandom. You know, any kind of group think has a toxic element. It just does. And and the Hallmarkies are about as pure a fandom as you're gonna find. Like, I mean, you look at something like Star Wars, for instance, is just a mess right now. Or I mean, so it's tough. So you were, as far as the show and what happened on the show, you felt like they handled that well.
I did. I'm sorry. And people can disagree with me. It's fine. I felt, again, it was a tough decision. I think there were fans who would not be happy any direction they went.
Yeah.
I felt it was the best way they could have done it. It was very dramatic. I felt like it also, because he was not available. Like, you have to remember, Daniel was not, we don't know exactly when he was available to film, when he wasn't available. Remember, for a while there, even I was being pissed in the show going, it's been 3 episodes, where is he? And then when I realized it was him, I mean, he was off filming other things, so we don't know exactly what was going on back there. So they had to make that work. I thought it's a great metaphor for our military and our military families. And I'm sure back then, Mountie families had to go through this. Yeah. I'm sure. I thought Aaron Krakow's performance was the bomb. She was so good. So, I mean, I think they made that. So for me, it worked. To me, it was ending that worked. It was devastating. It was horrible. We cried. I mean, the whole thing. So to me, that did happen. It worked. So, I mean, to me, it worked on some level. And I feel like he had to die on some level. I feel like, because some people were saying recast him. I was like, for me, no, we can't recast him. I'm sorry, just for me, it was no. I'd rather have a new Mountie than recast him. But there are folks who say we should recast him. So I was saying there's so many different options that they could have went. But there's a segment of people who are going to always be upset. And they have a right to be upset about the ending. They didn't get the ending they want. I get that. But I'm saying that as a writer, producer, that's hard. I wouldn't be in that position. I mean, I'm really curious what's going to happen with this whole Lori Loughlin thing. I mean, it's the production part, to me, that's a lot of work, folks. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. So I feel differently about this Lori Loughlin. I mean, we don't know what they're going to do, but I actually feel like it would be perfectly fine to me to recast her. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like she's a competent actress. She seems like a good actress, but I just feel like you could find another similarly competent actress. She's not in a relationship with anybody right now. So I don't know. I feel like I would have no problem personally with them recasting Abigail.
It's funny because I've seen that. Now, for me, I'm saying no. I mean, that's where I'm like, and of course I come from soaps where they recast all the time, that kind of thing. And some recasts really do well, and some people, even in soaps, though, there's some folks they're recasted. I mean, like, they just. I feel like Abigail was one of the hearts of the show, and I feel like Lori Loughlin's performance was just so wonderful in that role. For me personally, I say no to recast. I was like, no, have something happen to her, go off somewhere else, and then get somebody else. And
it's gonna be fascinating to see what they do, because if they're just, I know they did a few reshoots, but they're mainly saying they're editing it, and it's like, how do you edit Abigail out of the show? Like, what? It'll be fascinating. I can't think of any other show that mid-season basically makes the announcement they're going to edit out a character and then still air the remaining episodes. Like, it's unprecedented in television.
Well, the thing
as far as I can think of.
Well, I have a show that actually, not the same, but similar situation, Empire, that whole Jussie Smollett thing happened.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another thing was like, well, what are you going to do? They already filmed half the season already. And like, what are you going to do? And they were like, we're going to do this. So it was the same thing. It was kind of like both these stories at the same time going, well, how are they going to fix Empire? How are they going to fix When It Calls the Heart? I was like completely, like glued to like see what's going to happen.
That's crazy.
Because it's just very interesting because these are very controversial actors at the moment with outside stuff that happened. Does that really affect your viewing? And some folks were like, no, keep her on the show, we forgive her, whatever, and other folks were like, no, get rid of her. So I mean, again, it's the same situation. It just, again, the production, I keep going back to because I'm in television, the production part of it must be a nightmare.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
And it's a lot that goes into it. So I'm with you. I'm like waiting with bated breath to see how they're going to really work this out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I mean, you're just going to be looking to see where they how they cut out, where the cuts are and whatever. I don't know. It's going to be curious. I think it could be because they have to deal with Cody too.
I know.
Pretty big part of the show. Yeah,
I know.
So there's a little thought of me that because they've been having all these hints that Rosemary is having infertility problems, and there's nothing that Jeanette Oakes Baker loves more than having storylines where people have to adopt older children.
Right, exactly.
The Love Comes Softly books, and so I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
And you had last season, you had the tag along episode where the kids tagged along with the adults, went to work.
Yeah.
And Cody went with Leland for the day in that episode, and they got along great. So I'm like,
Exactly.
If I were, I think that might be an interesting kind of road to go. But anyway, it'll be fascinating. I feel like they've handled this situation better than I feel like they kind of the Jack situation was sort of their testing grounds, and this one they got it. They nailed it. They did a great job. Crown Media, I think, with this whole situation.
I just think the Hearties have gone through so much, and with this show recently, and then to add that, after I wrote the book, we realized that our show Afterbuzz will not be coming back.
Okay.
And so I had to make that announcement a week or so ago that the When It Calls the Heart after show will not be back. And so and Marissa and I were talking, and we feel bad for the Hearties because they love our show. People want they've been faithful to our show, and we get great views and numbers, and it's just like, after all that's happening. But for us, again, life happens and things happen, and my life has expanded, and her life has changed, and things are happening. So, and we love doing the show. We love it. And our original co-host is Maria Provenzano, which I dedicate this latest book to, her and Marissa. But now Maria's on Home and Family. She's a regular host. I mean, so we're having these great opportunities are happening for us. Afterbuzz was our starting ground. Yeah. And that's what Afterbuzz is about. It's about you start at this network, you build yourself, and you kind of move on. That's kind of what happened with me and Maria. So, most basically, we're kind of moving on. So it was tough. We had to tell okay, we're not coming back either. People are like, no. I know, I'm so sorry. I mean, but I tell people now, I'm just gonna say this to everybody out there. I'll probably do some Facebook Lives, and I'll probably, I'm still a Hardy. So I'm like, we're still a Hardy. I'm still a Hardy. We're not gonna be gone forever. We're just it won't be an Afterbuzz.
Well, if you ever want to come on our recap show, because we're doing it now every 2 episodes. We're doing we do our little recap show. Last year we did every episode, but it just became too much to produce. And so we're doing every 2 episodes now. And if you ever want to come, just let me know. And we'd love to have you for sure. That would be fun. So you've been great. I really enjoyed talking with you. And we like to end our interviews with we call them the Teen Beat questions. They're kind of silly questions that Amber found on.
I love silly.
Okay, here we go. What is the best ice cream flavor?
I think people are going to die, but just plain old vanilla.
Yeah. You can add anything, make it any flavor. So, very good. Okay, what is your favorite color?
Sky blue.
Nice. Okay. What music are you into right now?
music right now. Right now, am I
Yeah.
into? There's a singer named Billie Eilish. I'm obsessed with her right now. She's weird.
Uh-huh.
But she has a song. She has a song called oh my God, my name of the song. But she's out right now. She's hot right now. She's like a top 10 album. She's huge right now.
Cool.
But I'm fascinated by her right now. I don't know who she is, where she came from, but her music is speaking to me.
Very cool. Great. So what is your go-to date night food?
I've been on a date in a long time. Let's see. Date night food, go-to date night food. I love Mediterranean food.
Yeah.
I love some good hummus. Like some hummus and pita bread. Sounds good.
Sounds good to me. What is your go-to date night activity to go out? What's your ideal date?
You know, it's really funny. I'm an old person. I love bowling.
Yeah, there you go.
I own a bowling ball. I own bowling shoes. I wear a size 14 shoe, so I had to get my own shoes. And I love you get exercise, just a friendly competition. There's some skill, and even though I've lost 65 pounds, I'm eating better. They have food there, and I say they're just good for just to be messy for an evening.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun, and they have in LA they have Lucky Strike, which is it's like a rock and roll kind of bowling, and they have play music and they have the lights go out and they have glowing neon things. I think it's fun for a date. I think it's non-threatening. It's fun for a date.
Yeah. And you can talk, so that's fun too, but you're doing something. You're not just sitting.
Yeah, you're doing something.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Dogs or cats?
I like both. I love dogs. I just love dogs so much because dogs have such personality that they just want to love you. Cats are like, I'll talk to you when I feel like it.
Yeah.
So I like both, but I will go for it. But if I choose between both, I pick a pig. I like pigs.
Okay, good. Okay, beaches or mountains?
Well, I live near a beach, so beaches. I live near the Pacific Ocean. I love a beach. Love a good beach.
Me too. Me too. Suit and tie or sweats?
That's a good one. I'm a huge bow tie person.
Uh-huh.
I love the look of suit and tie. I want a suit and tie.
Okay, great. What is your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Thanksgiving.
Okay, very good. And what is your favorite Hallmark movie? And you can pick one of the one calls The Heart if you want.
I figure you know ones I really love. And a shout out to Robin Jones Gunn. I love her. I've interviewed her several times. I love the Father Christmas movie, like the Marrying Father Christmas, engaging. I love those movies. I think Niall and Aaron have great chemistry, and Wendy Malick's on it. And I love that. I love that series of movies. Those two movies are really very engaging. Marrying Father. I love that series.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been really fun to get to talk with you, get to the king of Hearties, I think we can call you.
Thank you. I'll take that. The king of Hearties. I like that.
Yes.
I love that.
So where can people find you on social media, find your book, all that fun stuff?
So James Lott Jr. is everywhere in the world, folks. I want you guys to know that. If you Google my name, that's 2 T's, James L-O-T-T Lott Jr. But on all social media platforms, I made it very simple. I'm at James Lott Jr. If I have music, I have all this music out. It's on my SoundCloud page, which is James Lott Jr. I have a YouTube channel, which is JLJ Media. So everything is very just like James Lott Jr. Type it in, you'll find everything. You go to Amazon for my books, which are Being a Heartie and Becoming a Heartie. They're each like $5. They're really inexpensive. They're easy reads. They're on Amazon. They're James Lott Jr. books. And I have like 11 other books out. So I have like 10 different books out. So I have a lot of books. But the 2 Hearties books, I recommend if you're a Heartie or even a Hallmark person, when those inside information on TV and how TV is done, read my books. They're really interesting. I give you some tea on the TV.
Okay, great. Very good. We'll have links for all that in the description section. People can definitely check that out. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah. And make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod, all over social media and on iTunes and YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes, if you can put in your ratings and reviews, we really appreciate it. If you're listening on YouTube. If you can give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that as well. We also have our Patreon that we just started that has been really great. And so if you're interested in supporting the channel, we'll put a link down to that in the description as well. So you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, and on iTunes and YouTube. And so we're all over the place. We're excited to be covering the new season of the new half of the season, I guess, of When Calls the Heart. And so let us know in the comment section or on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts about what we've talked about. And we would love to hear your feedback. And thanks again, James. This was a delight. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. People, rate, subscribe, comment. Do it.
Yes, thank you.
Hi to me. Do it.
And yeah, we'll definitely have to have you on again. Maybe at the end of the season, hear your thoughts. That would be fun.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Good. Great. Well, we'll talk to you later. And thanks again. And we'll be in touch. Bye.
Bye.